Say when.
I'm rolling.
Okay. Tilda Swinton, welcome to Dallas, Texas.
Thank you very
It's
much.
wonderful to have you here. I would assume it's your first time to be in Texas.
Well, it is. Sadly, I've never been here before, and it's a bit strange to be here for about 3 hours, but I'm getting the vibe.
And the heat.
And the heat. It feels like Scotland apart from the heat.
Ah, yes. I was going to
Yeah.
say, you never have heat like this in Scotland.
We do sometimes, very, very occasionally. But we
Really?
keep quiet about it. We tell everybody it rains all the time, so they stay away.
Well, as I was telling you, I have been to Scotland a
Yes.
couple of years ago. I
Yeah.
was there and had the most delightful time. And my number one impression was the people, how marvelous the people were.
Well, maybe you recognised a kinship. Are you from Texas, Bobbie?
I've spent all of my adult life here.
Well, maybe it's a
Yes.
kind of, there's a kinship. I have a sense there's something going on. People tend to come to Scotland from all over the place and feel like they're at home.
Which city in Scotland is your home?
Not in a city, in the wilderness. Yeah.
Really, in the country?
Yeah, way beyond anywhere.
Out on the moors?
Yeah, well, not quite, but in the Highlands, north of Inverness is our nearest city. It's just been made a city, so it's very proud of being a city, but it's actually a kind of town.
So how does the girl from that background become this world-famous actress?
Well, for a start, we're all more than one thing, and I'm a schizophrenic.
So even as a child, out in the wilderness, you had visions of being theatrical, or?
I'm not theatrical remotely, even now. I didn't have visions. I didn't find film till I had been working as a performer for a while. But when I found film, I knew that's what I was interested in.
So this interest in acting started maybe in school?
I can't answer that question. I never made a decision. I don't know. I'm not even sure that I have an interest in acting at all, but my life's unfolding, put it that way.
Well, that's kind of a nice way to do it. You know, we only have so much control anyway.
I don't really believe in decisions. I think that things just sort of, you just realise things.
This movie, The Deep End, I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good.
And I was just mesmerized with your performance because so much of the time you have no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do it with your facial expressions and your eyes. And I think that's more daunting for film, to do it on film, because if you do too much, it's hammy. And if you don't do enough, it doesn't come through. So how do you know when you've hit the right note?
Well, firstly, you don't know. You're on a tightrope and you take a risk. It doesn't feel daunting to me, actually. It's grace to me. That's sort of what I'm interested in working in film for. Exactly that kind of unwatchedness. I think that's what I like to see in the cinema. I like to see people looking like they don't know they're being watched. And it is a challenge as a performer because, of course, it's all done with mirrors because you know fine well you're being watched. But there's that's the grit and the oyster for me. I'm really interested in that, and that's one of the things that drew me to this project was the opportunity for this character to be unwatched and to do thinking, which is what we need to see people doing in the cinema. And you very rarely see women having the opportunity to do this much thinking anymore. I mean, we always used to see these films, these melodramas and these film noirs with women thinking their way through crises for 90 minutes. And there was a whole tradition in the 40s and 50s, these films. People used to call them women's films and were quite disparaging with that term, but we all sit up till 1 o'clock in the morning when they come on television and watch them again, and yet we can't go and see them in the cinema. Well, I hope that this is one film that feeds that in people, just the need to see women thinking, like they tend to do.
This woman is caught in a really terrible situation. Her son is involved in something, and she sets out to cover up for him. and I don't know how much of the plot we want to give away at this point. I'll let that be your choice. But if you were in that same situation, would you have made the same choices she made?
Well, I'm not her, so I doubt that I would have made all the same choices. The truth is, I don't know. I don't think any of us can know what we would do, because apart from anything else, we change day to day, because our lives change us incrementally. And the thing about being a mother is that you are on the spot 24 hours a day, and you have to make these decisions constantly. Not always the kinds of decisions she has to make in this film, but you still have to, you're in a sort of a permanent state of emergency as a mother. You're on call, and you have to make decisions, and sometimes you make mistakes. And she makes the decisions, you know, the story unfolds because she is who she is. If the film was about me, it would be a different story, because there are certain things that are very different about the way in which I live my life. I'm actually much less interested in control, and I'm much too lazy to, you know, need to sustain the kind of status quo that Margaret Hall does, you know, to name but two differences. But I don't think any of us know how we're going to react in a situation, in some kind of crisis, because the crisis changes us. So it's like a new self is born every time there's that kind of crisis. So I have no idea. Hope I don't have to find out, but you know, life's a rich tapestry.
You have children?
I have twins.
Twins? Their ages?
3.
Oh, my stars.
Just have a moment's silence there. See what I mean about being a schizophrenic?
Both boys?
One of all kinds. I have a girl and a boy.
And they are fraternal?
They are fraternal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you found out you were going to have twins, what was your reaction?
I panicked for about half an hour. And then nature did its thing, and I realized that it was the most wonderful thing. And I've never, you know, stepped off that plate. I think it's the most extraordinary gift to have twins, really. It's wild, absolutely wild.
Now, when you're out on this kind of a promotion tour, then you have nannies or grandparents, or you bring them along? No,
they're not here with me now, and this is a one-off for me. I've never done this before. And they have a father. They're very fortunate in having a wonderful father who's holding the fort. They'll have him tied up somewhere by now, I would imagine.
And is he in the entertainment business or film?
No, he's a painter.
Oh, really?
Yes.
An artist. So these children are going to have very artistic genes, or they do have artistic genes.
Who knows? They're feral at the moment.
I love your sense of humor. It's very Scottish.
I'm just telling you the truth.
This is the kind of humor I ran into in Scotland that just endeared me to the Scottish people. In this film, you cut your hair for this film.
Not actually in the film, but I did cut my hair.
No, but I mean
yes.
before,
yeah.
for the film, I should say.
Yeah.
You cut your hair.
Yeah.
How traumatic was that?
Not remotely. There's a sort of hush around the fact that I cut my hair. I think people sometimes feel that they owned my hair. Do we have to stop
wait
for
a
that?
minute. Can we stop that? Is there? We're rolling again. Okay, we are rolling now. Okay.
What
So we were talking about the fact that for this role of the mother in the deep end, did they want you to cut your hair, or you decided to cut your hair?
We all decided together that waist-length hair was not, you know, necessarily very Margaret Hall, and we decided that she should look like she had maybe had a haircut about 6 months before, or 3 months before, and so we cut it off. But people are very attached to my hair. I realise now that people get more attached to your hair than you do yourself sometimes. The poor directors were in a state of shock in that hairdresser's on that fateful morning. I was thrilled. You know, it's just hair.
It will grow back.
Well, it's growing shorter, actually. I'm kind of sucking it back in. I'm happy to be without it.
Really? Well, this hot
Yeah.
weather, it feels good to have a shortcut, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's...
You had to spend a lot of time in the water during the making of this film. Now, it was filmed at Lake Tahoe.
Yes.
Was it Lake Tahoe water or a tank at the studio?
Oh, it was Lake Tahoe water. It was Lake Tahoe melted ice water. Yeah.
How could you stand it?
You know, I sort of couldn't, which is the point. I mean, it was... it's really cold, and you just have to do it, and no acting required.
And would you say to the director, one take?
Well, the strangest thing was that, you know, after a couple of immersions, I went so numb that I started to say, I can do it again. Woo. And they started to say, get her out. Because you lose it, you really lose it. You go so cold, and you begin to kind of shut down, and that's when you become very bold, and you think, I can go in again, and then you're going to go in again, and you're going to be unconscious on the bottom. No, it's cold.
Was it just one day of shooting, or?
I think it was 2 days, I can't remember, but you know, we had to be very precise about how long I was in there. There's sort of all sorts of medical, people got very forensic about, you know, oh, there's only so long you can be in there for your body type and all this kind of stuff. You know, people love to play around with that thing, you know, look after people. People on films love looking after each other. It's one of the great reasons to make films.
Did you know going into the film you'd be required to do this?
Yeah, it's part of the story. It's a very important part of the story. Yeah.
But you know, they can do that kind of thing in a tank of tepid water, you know.
Well, first of all, I don't really see the problem with it. I mean, it's it's not like I was asked to, you know, kill myself on film or anything. I mean, it's a slightly difficult thing, but I'm all for difficult things, you know, that's the fun. And anyway, it needed absolutely to be Lake Tahoe. You know, there's no tank on Earth that could be made to look like Lake Tahoe, and that water is that clear. There's no tank water that you could get to be that clear. And also, you know, the more authentic it is, the more authentic stuff you can pump into a film, the easier on the heart it is, you know, for the audience, because they know they're seeing the real thing. So, no, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Well, indeed it is authentic, and I was having chilblains just watching it.
I'm so pleased, because some people don't quite realise it. I felt at the time that it looked fairly warm. I was a bit grumpy about the fact that the water looked so blue and so sparkling. The crew were wearing sunglasses, and I thought, oh, this is going to look tropical by the time it, you know, but no. I'm glad you thought it was cold.
Did you have any American actress or any American housewife in mind as a role model for this American you play?
No one particular person, I mean, it was important to make somebody brand new who was called Margaret Hall, who looked like me, more or less, and so it was a sort of an invention, but it was also a disguise, absolutely, and I had to, you know, I was having to pass myself off in a spy-like way as someone who'd been grown in America. And so I drew on all sorts of, not in a very scientific way, but I did draw it through the ether on just my sort of imagination about somebody who might look and move a little bit like me, but look like a convincing American person. I know that doesn't sound very precise. It's not very precise. I'm not an actor. I'm actually not an actor at all, but I don't work in that worn way. I just, it's mainly imagination and some empirical observation, but it's mainly all made. It's all made with mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors. That's it.
Let's talk about some of the things that you're going to do, and maybe you've already completed them. What about the movie with Nick Cage and Meryl Streep?
Oh, there's a film that is just being completed now, which is directed by Spike Jonze, written by Charlie Kaufman, the team who made Being John Malkovich. And they asked me to turn up in it, and I was only too happy to do that. And Nicolas Cage is in it, and so is Meryl Streep, and I'm like a mascot, and I turn up for a little bit. But they're a wonderful team, and I was so happy to be involved with that project. I think Charlie Kaufman is the most extraordinary writer writing today. Certainly the idea of him making Hollywood films is just too wicked to resist. So I was really happy to be on that.
And what is just the general storyline of that? It's adaptation, isn't it?
Adaptation.
Yes.
It's about a screenwriter called Charlie Kaufman, who is writing his second screenplay after the great success of his first screenplay, Being John Malkovich, which is in production at the moment. And he is commissioned by a development executive at a Hollywood studio, unnamed, to write an adaptation of Susan Orlean's The Orchid Thief. And he makes a great noise at the beginning of the film about how he doesn't want this film to be a Hollywood appropriation. He wants this to be a very pure thing. He wants it to be about flowers. He doesn't want it to turn into a heist movie or be about drugs or about people falling in love or learning great life lessons about anything. And then he gets writer's block. And it's absolutely anarchic beyond anything. And I happen to play the development executive. I represent Hollywood in the film, which is like an in-joke.
Another American role.
In fact, no, I'm English, which
you're
I think
English
is kind of
this
added
time.
joke, yeah. Kind of, the super pretentious ones.
And then, of course, you are in Vanilla Sky.
Well, apparently, rumor has it, I don't know. You have to ask Cameron Crowe if I'm in Vanilla Sky.
You think you could have been cut out?
No, I don't think I could have been cut out, but I'm just in there as such a tangential presence. And Cameron Crowe sent me an email and asked me to be in his film, and so he asked me in such a way that I couldn't refuse. So I turned up for a couple of days.
And you had scenes with Tom Cruise or Kurt Russell? A scene with Tom Cruise.
Yeah. But I really, honestly, I have nothing to say about it because I really don't know what it will be. It was a wonderful holiday for me to be involved in that project, not just because of to Cameron Crowe, who's an extraordinary person to be around for a couple of days even, but it was, it was like a rolling thing. I knew so little about the project. I went in for. I just went past, I was there for 2 days, one scene. I don't know, I contribute to it. I'm a mascot.
Got your money and left.
Well, not even that.
Oh, you didn't get your money?
No, what's money?
Bad deal, bad deal. I would love to just sit here the rest of the day and talk with you, but you have appointments, and the clock watchers out there are going to throw us out. So anyway, congratulations to you
Bobbie.
on The Deep End.
Thank you.
And again, I'm so happy to recommend this film to people who like film noir and
Great.
who like a wonderful suspense story, well acted.
Thank you very much.
Thank
indeed.
you.
Okay. Thank you.
That was great. That was lovely. Thank you. Oh.
Okay, you ready?
Your twins, now, are they with you?
They're in Scotland.
And you have nannies or grandmothers or?
No, they are very fortunate to have a father who they're with now, who's looking after them.
And then I remember, And is he also involved in show business or entertainment?
No, he's a painter.
And so these children have DNA and genes that are very artistic.
Well, maybe. We'll have to see. They're feral animals, as I told you.
Now, I didn't ask the question quite this way, but I know
Yeah.
where I will fit it. So, what was the big thrill for you getting this part? That's okay. I know
Yeah,
where
yeah.
what I'm going to cut in there. Okay. Were you required to have your red hair cut for this film, or did you just decide to do it? Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't
Do I
matter
have to
what
say
you
something?
say. Yeah, it's better if you say
If I say something.
But
Okay, do you want to do it
that's
again?
okay. All right. Were you required to have your hair cut, or did you just decide to do it?
Well, it was something that we all felt that was needed for the character.
That's good. Okay. What was it like the day you got the haircut?
It was very traumatic for the directors.
In the deep end, you spend a lot of time in the water. Now, did you know ahead of time that you were going to have to do that?
Yes, it was clearly in the script. It was something that we had to do, and it had to be Lake Tahoe, and real cold Lake Tahoe water.
All right. Was this really Lake Tahoe, or did they have a tank in a studio someplace?
It was really Lake Tahoe, real Lake Tahoe, melted ice.
Let's see. How many days then did you have to be in the water?
I think it was 2, parts of 2.
You have a couple of films coming up. What about adaptation?
Well, adaptation is a film directed by Spike Jones.
Okay, that's good. You're going to be in Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise.
Apparently. We'll wait and see if I'm there.
You might have gotten cut out of the picture.
I don't know if I could be cut out, but we'll see how much of me is there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you think we got it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. Thank you very much.
Okay, my
Just
pleasure.